Hey, Jay, what up, man? How you doing?
Hey, how's it going? Doing well. Thanks for having me back on.
Let's start with the important subject matter of the day. Do you remember the KD to DC movement, and how silly does that seem now?
Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
DC?
Remember when that was a thing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, he's from DC. He should come back here, right?
Right.
It was
simple.
That was fun.
It was so simple that they were going to get him back just because he was from here. All right.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
You got some reporting on the Montana Senator Daines working with the Wetzel family to get the creator of the Old Skins logo honored. What do you got?
Yeah, the talks are continuing, and apparently there's at least some kind of framework of a deal for the home opener against the Giants. So there's going to be the Wetzel family. I'm not sure how many members, but they're expected to be in attendance. I don't know if this will be a pregame, halftime thing, but they're currently designing a plaque that will have a permanent home somewhere at Commander's Field. So that's good. The team said it's not final yet in a statement to me yesterday, but they're heading in that direction. Will that be enough? Maybe for Senator Daines, who you're talking about, moving off of his basically block of this bill. That's going to be kind of that we don't know, and we also don't know about the two Maryland senators who are Senator Daines is doing all this work for. Kind of not saying that there's some kind of cabal going on, but there's the two senators from Maryland haven't really had to do much because Senator Daines is kind of has kind of blocked things up with his with this whole logo thing.
All right, so Senator Daines, I mean, there's just so much that I find interesting. I do want the organization to honor their history, and I do think I've seen it with my own eyes, right? Like I've traveled with this football team, and I've seen groups of Native Americans come together supporting the logo and the team name because they took it as a sense of pride. I've also seen the opposite. I've seen groups of Native Americans in large numbers protest and rally against the name because they thought it was offensive. And I think you can easily see why both sides would have their opinion. Senator Daines from Montana has entered this fight because the family that came up with the logo and the inspiration for the logo are from Montana. I find it laughable that is how he's decided to enter into the fight. I'm sure there's a lot of people in Montana that would love a senator to try to represent them. I fear much of this is driven by politics. But if the Commanders are going to honor the Wetzel family and honor the logo, and I like to think there is a cool way to have the old logo at FedEx Field that is both respectful, a nod to history, and looks forward. If they're checking all these boxes, is Senator Daines done?
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough question. Now, see, Senator Daines' office and Senator Daines on Wednesday went on X, formerly Twitter, and posted a Santana Moss video, or reposted a Santana Moss video the NFL did. And they're going back through the Super Bowl this year, or the 3 Super Bowl titles that the Commanders won. They kind of cropped out the logo and the name and everything, and for those 3 Super Bowls back when the team was known as that. So, and then they post this video. So there's a lot of like reading tea leaves going on. We're like, oh, they're open to it. Yes, but as my story mentioned this morning and last night, this ownership group has mentioned Redskins, has mentioned the name before, and it's Josh Harris talking about going up, he's from here, going to the games and such. They talk about the history. That's one thing, and I think people are reading a lot into that. People including Senator Daines' office, I think, and the social media posts that this ownership group is open to a return of the name. They are, so far, my sources are saying they're not. They're talking to the family. The name's never coming back. Now,
dude, like it's been so unequivocal that the name's not coming back. I just wish. I wish that would stop.
It's very, things could change. Could they bring back? We're so far from some kind of throwback with the old logo on it. We're still pretty far. I think that's what the Wetzel family would like to see, the logo be used again. That's right now not in the cards. Could that change? Possibly. But I just don't. This is all over a home rule issue. This is just DC trying to get use of land that's just sitting out there at RFK. RFK still being torn down. You know, they want use of the land. It's just sitting there, and it doesn't guarantee, one, that there's going to be a stadium on there, and two, that the Commanders are going to be moving to that stadium. You know, if those plans go forward. They're not. This makes DC basically on the same, gives them the same footing as Virginia and Maryland. That's it. That's
right.
All this bill does.
Yeah,
and
I get it.
You're right. It is kind of strange on Montana senators holding all this up.
Let's assume, right, and it's an assumption. Let's assume that Senator Daines is like, okay, cool, you took care of my constituent. I'm out. Let's move this forward. The two Maryland senators would then be thrust into a bigger role if they actually want to shoot this down. Now, what I know as a Maryland resident is I understand the economic impact of the stadium in Landover, but dude, I honestly think if you did a poll of Marylanders from the mountains of the western Maryland to Ocean City, I bet a majority of Marylanders would support RFK. And I say that because, one, there's a ton of old school Skins fans that just want to go back to RFK that live in Montgomery and PG and Anne Arundel and probably Frederick and Calvert and wherever the Burgundy and Gold fan base exists in Maryland. Two, I think all the people in Baltimore and on the Eastern Shore don't want state money to build another stadium. Like, does that seem unreasonable?
No, but I think Westmore, the governor, and is still, he's arguably the biggest cheerleader for Maryland for the stadium.
I love Wes. He comes on the program with us during football season. So I get him, but if you're the Senators and you're just I don't know who the next dude is that's up for election. I guess there's an election going on right now, right? With also Brooks and Hogan. Yeah. That's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, we don't know what they're going to do because, like, you're right. Because during the House vote back in February, Raskin abstained. Everybody else, every other rep from Maryland voted no. So we know there's resistance there. But just two things. One, back in 2020 when they changed the name, JP BMitch, didn't we all think we were done with this topic? But it's 4 years later and we're still talking about it. It's kind of shocking there, right?
Yeah. I mean, the name's not coming back. Please stop. Now, maybe they change the name again.
Yeah,
the name does suck. I don't know, man. I'm so burnt on this topic.
There's a lot of bad team names out there. There's even, like, I'm a Dodger fan. That's not a great name. It goes back to New York and turn of the century. There's a lot. I think the view is, I think first get this offseason, a lot of movement, front office, coaching, players, things are going the right direction there. Now the next step is the stadium. Third step could be the name, but I think if they win, because they're going to be the next stadium. Now the timetable, it's not going to open until 2029, 2030. I mean, that's what we're looking at.
I think that's optimistic, dude. I don't even think that's realistic.
Yeah, that's kind of 2029 would be kind of it's a small stretch.
Dude, we're halfway through 24, and they don't even have a site. In your work with front office sports, how long? Let's say they, like, once you have a site, like Buffalo and Nashville are being built as we speak. Is that a 3-year process, 4-year process?
Typically, a stadium, once the ground's been broken, it takes 2.5, 3 years. For a dome stadium, this is going to be a dome stadium. This is wherever they put it. When Harris and everybody else, his ownership group bought the team, they bought the land both in Ashburn and at the former FedEx Field site. So they have all that. They could play. They could play at Commanders Field for forever. No one wants that. They need a new stadium. That stadium was outdated when it opened. So it was. So they're going to work towards it, but they're also they're not. There is no hurry. They're making all these upgrades to make Commanders Field as hospitable as possible these transition years here. So there is no hurry, and and I'm sure they want to see what happens with this bill if it advances and makes DC a player, because obviously that we've seen the polls, and you just talked about it. This is where a lot of the fans want the team.
Well, everything has to be so complicated, and I think that's just life in a multi-jurisdictional city, for lack of a better word. Like, I
That has
do.
no representative. I mean, there's no one on Congress who, outside of Eleanor Holmes Norton, who's advocating for there is no senator for DC.
Yeah,
So,
and I
there's
also, I mean, when you think about Buffalo, they got money from the county and the state and maybe even the
yes,
city. Nashville got the
over
same deal.
$1 billion.
Whereas,
Yeah.
I mean, whether you think Muriel Bowser's done a good or a bad job, she's on an island pretty much fighting the feds as well as the city council. Like, it just seems so. And the new ownership group is full of legit heavy hitters. Like, these dudes know how to get stuff done, but damn, it's a complicated road.
Yeah, I thought once it
And
passed,
that's without dudes
especially
from
that.
Montana interfering.
Yeah, I mean, I thought once it passed out of the oversight committee, which is one of the most divided committees there ever has been on Capitol Hill during this current session, that was a great. I was like, well, I got out of the House, out of this committee, onto the floor. It passed overwhelmingly. Yeah, I thought, we just, you don't know what's going to happen when it gets to the other side of Capitol Hill like this. But yeah, I did not expect us to be talking about, up until this about 2 months ago. I didn't expect this logo issue to be, have any part of this. And it's kind
No.
of it's politics. You never know.
It's politics, man. You never know. All right, AJ, appreciate you, man. Good to hear from you. Hope all's well.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on.
All right, that's our guy AJ Perez, Front Office Sports. And I do think it's important. Like, one of the things that the senator's been clear about, he's not looking to bring the name back. The problem is, like, he just wants the logo to be honored and the people that came up with the logo and were part of the building that, which I applaud. The problem is the slightest thing that happens in this process, just the gold pants, for example. The zealots on the edge of the debate run with, okay, this means the name's coming back. So you bring gold pants back. There are a bunch of people that are like, okay, the name's coming back. You honor the logo. There's a lot of people out there that are going to say, okay, the name's coming back. And it seems like it's one step forward, 8 steps back with some of these people. And I fear that this has all been co-opted by political groups that view the old name as a part of their culture war, not a part of a football team that we all care about. And I wish we could build a giant wall between the co-opted political culture war nerds and the people that just want to root for their hometown football team.